So who halten me where we're holding? So the question at the beginning of h'tשכ was that in Zman HaGolus, V'anochi haster esponai, so the etzem HaNeshama is concealed. How could there be, asked in the beginning of h'tשכ, when on the contrary, we learn that dafke in Zman HaGolus, tzom malocha nafshi, it's dafke in the Midbar Yehuda that David HaMelech called out, tzom malocha nafshi, kom malocha b'sari, from the depth of his soul, that's the etzem HaNeshama. It's exactly what we're talking about. So much so, does Golus elicit the call from the etzem HaNeshama that he said, Halavai b'kodesh chazisicha. Halavai, my soul will be revealed in such a way when I'm in holiness, when I do behold you, where godliness is revealed. Halavai, the essence of my soul was stirred like it is now. So that's an outright contradiction to what we're saying. So how do we reconcile the two? So this began the answer. We actually did answer. We didn't finish the paragraph. But it began the answer in drawing a distinction between the soul essence presence, it's present, and it's affecting, or it's illuminating. So illuminating, that is only bisman abayis. By illumination we mean it suffuses the mind and the heart. As we explained yesterday, it means that even as we're engaged in an understanding and love of God, means, this is bisman abayis, that all of that is suffused with the etzem HaNeshama. And I said it very briefly yesterday, I'll repeat it again, just this one line, the difference between whether the heart is suffused with the essence of the neshama or not is, I love you. What's the emphasis? I love you, or I love you, or I love you. So when the essence of the neshama is revealed, it's the emphasis is the you, the mysterious, unknowable you. We're all talking now, as I'm talking now, this is man habayis, when godliness is revealed. Without the avodah b'chol ma'idcha, which comes as a gift, as we learned earlier from the avodah b'chol nafshcha, the emphasis is how it fills me, how the relationship with God, with you, fulfills me. I love you, or I love the way you make me feel, which is what love means as far as the world is concerned. That's man habayis. So that's the meaning of Oir HaNeshama. This is what Oir HaNeshama means. With the etzem HaNeshama illuminates, suffuses. Zman HaGolus is koyach HaNeshama, which is actually deeper. And here, the love and the mind are not suffused because they're not even open. There's no understanding, relatively speaking, there's no feeling. So what is left is the pure I am a yid, that's the koyach HaNeshama that manifests itself in Mesiras Nefesh. And there's many levels to Mesiras Nefesh too. The Mesiras Nefesh he speaks of here as he succinctly expresses it in the three words, sheyesh lo hechlet gomur, limse nafshel kiddush Hashem. It's just an absolute decision that it can't be any other way, notwithstanding, overriding the mind and heart that protests with the questions and the pain of Golus. So that's reconciled our question. What's concealed? V'anochi haster esponai. The Oir HaNeshama, not the koyach HaNeshama. Is that clear? Let's go now concluding. Is that clear? Good. Let's conclude the paragraph. Where are we up to? Let's start again. We're actually halfway through it. So V'inyan, which is 4 or 5 lines on the top of, I think you have the same page numbers, Kuf Lamed Zayin, do you?
131.
different page numbers. Okay, so anyway, you see it there. So Indian there. So this Indian we're describing now this achlata, that it can't be any other way, notwithstanding all of the protests on the conscious levels of consciousness. They are simply ignored. So the Indian there, kechan neshama kechan mesidus nefesh. That's the Kain Bakodesh Chazisich. Halavai. When I'm in holiness, my soul is revealed like it is now in the desert, said David HaMelech, as explained by the Baal Shem Tov. So it's more in Zman HaGolus. Shebizman HaBayis, sheyesh Gilui ha'oides shebekelim. So in Zman HaBayis, when revelation is absorbed and contained within Kalim, which means he understands and feels. As he goes into saying now, what are the Kalim? The Kalim is Seichel and Midas, reflecting the Kalim above, the Esespheres. So then, Azali, Nirgish Kol Kach Koich Mesiras Nefesh. He doesn't feel Mesiras Nefesh, doesn't need Mesiras Nefesh. He's inspired and motivated, and life is beautiful. That's Bizman Abayis. Mashenkim is Zman HaGolos, but in Zman HaGolos, life is not beautiful. A thirsty and exhausted, drained place. So his intellect and his emotion, and he adds in brackets, the midas come as a result of the seichel. If there's no understanding, then there can be no midas, there can be no emotions. Same behelim, they don't disappear, but they're in a state of concealment, they are not operating. As a koyach hamesiris nefesh ubegilu yoisos, and in Zman HaGolus, the koyach hamesiris nefesh, which draws on, he says, the koyach haneshama. And yesterday we won't repeat this now, we explained two levels of koyach, koyach kloli and koyach atzmi. Koyach kloli, we said, was rotz, and the koyach atzmi is the etzem haneshama. Right, as we spoke about this yesterday. But here we speak of the koyach atzmi as a koyach hamesiris nefesh begilu yoiser. Here, the koyach hamesiris nefesh is in the greatest state of revelation. Where's the hanoichi astir? It's in the oir haneshama. That's concealed. Meaning the oir that suffuses consciousness, mind, and heart. That's not. But the koyach, the presence, as we started off saying, the presence of etzem neshama is greater. And the effect, pel mamash mesiras nefesh. But it bypasses, as it were, seichel and midas. Where it doesn't bypass, that's oir, that's suffusion, that's inspiration. He's not inspired. He's doing what he has to do. So that's more in Golas, in Zman HaBayis, Adsha, Oimen, so much so that we say, the Pasuk says, it's explained by the Baal Shem Tov, Kain Bakodesh Chazisich. As mevinsich, one wishes oneself, as it were, Halavai. Halavai would it be Bakodesh B'Zman HaBayis, that when he gets to holiness, which is the time of the Beis HaMikdash, Chazisicha, I should behold you, I should connect to you, ba'ofen ha'avodah mesiras nefesh b'zman ha'golus, in the way that we served you in Zman HaGolus. Rabbi Mendel used to say, mamish this, that in a way he misses the days of the Gulag. You hear? Because of this mamish. Because there's his etzem and neshama, I'm a yid, and there was no discussion. It drew from the deepest place with him, which is why not only did he survive the Gulag, he thrived. Imprisonment and Gulag. Even though, as we explained yesterday, in terms of Giluyim, prison is worse than death. But Etzem HaNeshama is ever present, and dafke in, if one accesses it and chooses to, it's more present in the essence of who I am, is more present more expressed, not in the way of oir, but more expressed, not in the way of inspiration, but more expressed dafki in the prison and dafki in Golos. And that's the whole teichen of the h'tשכ, that was the manning of Chassidim. That the Mesiras Nefesh that they had in Russia. So human nature, they came to America and that wasn't necessary. And so the Etzem Neshama receded. And this whole avoid is missing. And the whole h'tשכ is to be megale, is really going beyond this. The point of h'tשכ is to bring the maila of avodah in Golos to Geula, in a maimed matzav of inspiration and revelation, and there are no concealments, relatively speaking, which is the free world. That's Mashiach, that's Geula, which is what the Rebbe is bringing us to. But here in this maimer, he's speaking the maila as a word of God's mana Golos, per se. And then what the Rebbe is saying in h'tשכ is to bring that in, not halavai, but tak bepeil, b'kodesh chazesicha. As the Maim explains exquisitely, that the whole function of Moshe Rabbeinu is to megala this level of h'tשכ. We're talking about this mamish, this nitzutz cotton beire, which is the koyach haneshama, not the koyach kloli, but the koyach atzmi, that should be brought to bear where and suffuse and be present, not in the atmistic way, but in a way of oir in every level of consciousness. That's h'tשכ. That's the final shlichus, the final avodah. That's the final maimed that the Rebbe handed us till Mashiach comes. And everything the Chassidus taught till then was achana for that maimed. Aside from being intrinsically critical and valuable, but it's all achana. As an aside, since I'm talking, I'm just going to share with you something that you've heard me say. I haven't said it in a while for whatever reason. But you had to pick 10 words to define Yiddishkeit. High on the list would be evolution. Not Darwinian evolution, obviously, but the world evolving towards its ultimate destination as Torah is revealed deeper, the whole process as explained in Chassidus. That's a big chiddush of Chassidus, this living, evolving relationship. Till Chassidus, it was a very simple equation. You do mitzvahs, you build your wall, there's a tipping scale and redemption comes. Make enough deposits and that's it. It's all a predetermined reward. It's waiting for you. Earn it, deserve it, you get it. That's not an evolution. It's not a relationship. That's earning enough points, and then you get, bingo, the prize, redemption, Olam Haba, whatever. I'm simplifying it, but that's the understanding of life and its purpose till Chassidus, till the Arizal Bemis, who revealed what's really going on. And it's an evolving relationship with all of its ups and downs, and how one step evolves and leads to the next, and it's all critical, and it's all part of a seamless progression towards redemption in an evolutionary way, not just adding dollars, it's spiritual dollars, merits, and accumulating enough merits to get the prize. We create the prize. The prize is the consequence of our avodah. It's a relationship. Huge revolution, evolution, revolution, revelation of Chassidus. Did we finish? Yeah, Klolos, now next paragraph. Klolos, yeah. Rabbi relates that I'm seeing in the book that I'm reading the stories of Groinem, the Groinem Kochzich in this. This was critical. This is the first generation of Timchit Mimim. So he really gave them a very clear understanding of where they are. What's Timchit Mimim? in the whole scheme of history and purpose and kavanah. And these h'tchk, they've all, if it was alive anymore, not one of them. But at any rate, they were the foundation that Bemis in the Rebbe's Sichos, this is a very powerful component of the Rebbe's Sichos. Klolos achilek shebein avodah bezman habayis lavodah bezman hagolus, so very different thing coming now in avodah. So the general difference between the avodah and bezman habayis, which demanded oir, that was the avodah of oir, seichel, midas, be inspired for God's sakes. There's so much to inspire you. In contrast to what avodah bezman hagolus, where inspiration, on the contrary, questions. So the difference is achilek shebein avodas habirurim la'avodas hanisyonos. The difference between the avodah of birurim and nisyonos. Birurim means to refine the world, to elevate it, and nisyonos means tests. And what happens when you have a test? You're not refining, you're rejecting. That's what we're talking about. Suffusing or bypassing or ignoring. In simple language, as he spells it out for us. Avodas habirurim is engagement. You're engaging, and in that which you're elevating, there's a godly spark. It has to be extracted and elevated. And therefore, you're elevating. In the Gam Adover HaMizbarer, that which you are elevating, it's the thing you're engaging helps us. You're eating l'shem shamayim, so the food which you're elevating assists in the process of elevating the spark. It's part of the process. You eat l'shem shamayim, so the food is oile l'kdush. So the food is klipas noiga. Before you eat it l'shem shamayim, there's a divine spark there, and if you engage it in a godly way, business, food, and all of the other permissible engagements of life, and you make the mitzvahs, b'chol drachecha da'ehu, you know God in all your ways, exercising l'shem shamayim. God needs healthy Jews to conquer the world. So then you're elevated. That's generally the avodah bizman habayis. When a person faces a test, it's not about engagement, it's the opposite. It's not about elevating that moment or that state. The whole point of a test is there's nothing to elevate. It has no reality. It's to test you. It's about you. Not about engaging me, the thing, but to test for my loyalty. It doesn't have a nitzah kedusha. The Rebbe hastens to add, obviously it is, nothing exists outside of God. So if I'm facing a test, it's not an illusion. And God is bringing that moment into being, but it's not like all permissible matters. Gimel klipas atmeyes, it's deeply concealed. It's osur, it's forbidden. What does osur mean? Osur means tied down. The nitzas kedusha is tied down, cannot be elevated. It's not meant to be elevated. So how the nitzas kedusha? So sometimes Siddur says, if you recall, what do these words mean? That the chticha atzma nasa nevela. Remember that? Remember the context there in Basa B'cholam? You remember it? No, okay, so what's the idea?
A piece of, if a drop of milk falls on a piece of flesh.
That's chticha, actually, it's a physical piece, but whatever. If it can't be identified, etc., then it's actually considered part of the volume of the other meat. At any rate, so but here he
Not the
brings,
drop of milk itself, the whole piece of clay.
yeah. Okay, there's a difference a little bit, but at any rate, that's the general idea. But he doesn't bring that imagery, but the following is also quoted frequently. We've also encountered it. The pasuk says that the light of the righteous, the tzaddik, illuminates, it continues to grow, but the light of the wicked yidach dims. So you tell me, actually, the brackets tell us. So what do we see from here? On the one hand, what? On the other hand, what? What's the diuk here? It doesn't say that the Rishoyim are what? The tzaddik is light and the Rasha is dark. It doesn't say that. It says ner, there is a ner, but what's the ner of the Rishoyim yidach? So there is a spark, but what? It's dark and concealed. She says in the script back, there can't be a test if God isn't behind it. So that's there's the Rishoyim, the test, the forbidden encounter, engagement, object, whatever, is what has a ner, and it's Rishoyim. But what? It's dimmed. So it's not about engaging and elevating the moment. Rather, the whole avodah eina ela ba'ha'adam. Nisyonis are about you, the person. The person has to work on himself, not engage there. To stand firm, not to be affected and moved by it. And then what happens? We're not elevating it, it fundamentally disappears. It's just no longer. It was only there to test me, passed the test, done his job, ceases to exist. That's the avodah in Zman HaGolus, not so much. It's not black and white. Of course, we engage the world, and there's avodah seberurim. There is that aspect, but not in the same way that it was with Zman HaBayis. And the chidush, the ikar avodah, is the avodah sanisyonis, which is a word means Kabbalah soil. Eating the Shem Shamayim, no. Don't eat the treif, you know. So this is much more, this is more difficult. It's a more difficult avodah. In a way. Which is why it's a test. So the koyach to withstand it mitzat ha'tshek, the etzem haneshama. Why say no? He's not inspired to say no. Zman HaGolus, there's no inspiration. Why? Because I'm a Yid, a Chosid, etzem haneshama, and that achlot that he said before, hechlet gomer. Shezeh ha'koyach haneshama lamed b'nisan. This is the koyach atzmi, not the koyach in general, koyach kloli, which is oir. We're not talking that. But koyach atzmi, and that is where what he draws on to withstand and resist the test. And furthermore, now comes the big chiddush. Okay, so this is the data tetzava now, but we're going to see it's not always possible in this maamar. Data tetzava there demands it. So we see where you're going to go now. We already win. Okay, we'll stop here because
finish it.
No, it's
you
all
start with yeah, okay.
Okay, Martin, you're right. It finishes in this paragraph. Okay. The end, the promise is, if you'll stand with the nisoyim, with etzem neshama, you'll be inspired too. The mind and the heart will be engaged. There will be the oir neshama. Not like Bizman HaBayis is going to go and say later, and maybe not for everyone, but everyone now, but sof kosof here. Hashem tests you in order to know, do you love God or not? So love is already a feeling, and das is to know. Yeah, in the end, the Nisayon will lead to inspiration. The Nisayon itself, you're not inspired, it's dogged, Mesiras Nefesh, Kabbalah's oil, and it's gut-wrenching. It requires every ounce of strength to resist the Nisayon. It's to squeeze out mamish the etzem anasham. Hardly an inspirational moment. But the sof is, the end will be, that this Nisayon will bring Ladas Daike. If not today, tomorrow. This will bring out the das hanelim, which is the etzem anashama, that it will come out in a way of oir, of inspiration, like a quasi zman habayis state, with the might of golos. Again, the h'tshk, both. The Oimen. But in general, the avodah of this, in general, however, the end it will be, but in general, the avodah of nisyonish mitzad koich haneshama that draws on the essence will be zman agolos dafke. Then Nemar came b'kodesh chazesicha, lavai b'kodesh chazesicha, lavai when I'm inspired, when I be inspired, drawn on my soul essence. The end it will be, he says, but in general, golos, that's golos. Fundamentally, Kabbalah's oil. The promise is there'll be ladas at the end. V'yata tetzave. It will suffuse the koiches, the consciousness. Again, it's the last maamar of the Rebbe. It's the end of golos. That's what's expected of us and what we are empowered to achieve. Are we somewhat clear, friends? Yeah, guys on Zoom.
Thank you very well.
Okay, but just in general, gentlemen, if there's anything you don't understand, you don't have to ask it this year. You can send me a note or call. A call is hard, and I'll answer you personally. Anything, whatever. This maybe things were said. I'm assuming that people know. They don't. But whatever it is, please reach out to me. It's my pleasure to explain to the best of my ability. Okay, we still got a minute or two.